All of the pool matches wrapped up this past weekend for the Women's World Cup, and I think it was a solid ending. We'll go through the pools, the quarterfinal matches upcoming, go through our predictions, and talk a little bit about last week. And I'm excited to see how it all breaks down and excited to jump in this video. Let's go. All right, so we are on to the quarterfinals this week for the Women's World Cup, and it pretty much played out how we predicted early on with the dominant teams going on. But we'll take a look at the standings, or the results for last week, I should say, starting on Saturday. So we see that Canada beat Scotland 40-19, and Canada is looking incredibly dominant. I have to say they're one of the strong favorites going in to the quarterfinals, just the way they played. And I have to give a shout out to you, Qrew, for educating me on Canada and their quality. And they've really started to put form together. And especially against Scotland, there were points where they just started to pull away and just really, put their will on the Scotland. But it'd be interesting to see as we move into the quarterfinal rounds, because it's one and done, and so we'll see how it plays itself out. But they did a good job doing playing in Pool B and getting their place into the quarterfinals. USA Samoa, it was a bigger scoreline than I predicted. I really thought it was going to be a closer match, but that was an uneducated guess. I'll just be honest, because for USA to put 60 points up on Samoa, who was scoreless, it was a great effort by the USA, and they did an incredible job fighting to try to secure that number 2 spot to get out of Pool A, but they just weren't able to make up that margin of point deficit because of the loss they had against England. And Australia did a good enough job of keeping the game close against England to where the USA couldn't scoot themselves into that second spot. But I believe if we'll take a look at the final breakdown of the pool and before we go into the bracket itself, but I believe they came within 2 points, 2 point deficit of overcoming that score or that point deficit. But great job by the USA. They had a strong showing and they put together a quality performance against Samoa. But I do think the better teams advanced out of that pool, because in the quarterfinals, I just seeing the way that they played against England, for instance, they did a fantastic job against Australia. I just think the teams that are going to the quarterfinals deserve to be there, and they're just so dominant and powerful. That would have been very, very difficult for the USA to make it past quarterfinals if they were able to overcome that deficit. But incredible job, a great showing, and I saw that the head coach from the USA, ended up resigning, I believe yesterday or so. So that's unfortunate, but it's looking good for the USA women's side as far as getting their team together and putting together performances. So congratulations to the USA. We see Fiji and Wales was a close match, 28-25. Fiji comes away with the win, and I just think I can only go by the highlights. I didn't watch the full match. Fiji was able to wear them down and persevere and get that win. England overcame Australia, and England, they look unstoppable at this point. The thing is, I saw Ellie Kilden. She is announced out this week because of the head injury she sustained from this match in Australia. So the good thing about England is they have women that can step in her place and fill that gap. So it's not going to be a massive fall off, but it's when you have one, you always want your strongest player on the pitch. But I believe they're going to get past the quarterfinal rounds, and then Ellie is going to be cleared of her HIA, and then she'll be back for the semifinal matches as we go. But incredible job by England. They look unstoppable. Australia advances as well, and Australia did a great enough job holding off England and not letting them run away with the scoreline and giving away their spot to exit Pool A. So going down into Sunday's matches, these were just feel-good matches, I would say, for the first two, because Japan beat Spain. Japan did an incredible job fighting back in this game and stayed consistent, and they were able to overcome Spain with the scoreline 29-21. Italy blew Brazil out 64-3. Brazil, fantastic job on their first showing in the World Cup and putting their first points of the World Cup on the board last week with their first try, and now they're getting their first penalty goal for points. So great job, Brazil, by getting in there. But Italy dominated this match. New Zealand beat Ireland and it was big for New Zealand. And they have that young player, and I have to think of her name. She's absolutely exceptional. 18 years old. She's the winger. Amazing talent that they have in New Zealand. For such a young woman to perform at the quality and the class that she did, absolutely exceptional. So congratulations to New Zealand on beating Ireland. And that was great because Ireland upset New Zealand. I believe it was last year, maybe early this year. You have to let me know. But it was a big win, and they just really wore down Ireland in the end and just put the power on them. And their lines and set pieces look so fast. Their kicking game was incredible. Talking about the Black Ferns, absolutely amazing. And then France was able to completely dominate South Africa, 57-10. And this is where, France, you can see these are the top quality teams, or the cream is rising to the top. South Africa did a great job to advance out of that pool by beating Italy, but going against a high-powered nation like France for the women's side, they just weren't able to put anything together, even with the power that they have from South Africa. France was so fast, fluid, fast ball speed, great at the breakdown, and just unrelenting. And their line breaks were exceptional. And so France put it on South Africa. And so we'll move over into just the pool breakdown so we can take a look at the points. The closest pool was Pool A. England and Australia advanced, but we see the point total. America and Australia were tied, and it was just a 2-point deficit that. And please let me know if I'm reading this wrong, but it was a 2-point deficit that USA was down. So they did a great job of fighting back against Samoa and try to get that number 2 spot against Australia, but it was just so far of a deficit to overcome, and they weren't able to do it at this point. So let me know if I'm reading that correctly or not. But that's how I'm reading it, and it could be completely wrong. But that's how I'm reading it. Pool B, Canada and Scotland advance out of this one. Fiji and Wales are left in the back. And I do have to say, what I do love about the women, they're showing the sportsmanship that we love and celebrate in rugby, because for the life of me, I do not know the Welsh's woman's name, but she's the one that wears a bow in her hair, and she got a lot of flack last week for her wearing that huge pink bow that she wears. And I think it's beautiful that she wears that and showcases her personality, because I think a lot of times, because the sport is the same, the sport of rugby, it gets compared to the game of men's, but the women's side it's the same game, same rule set, so they're playing the same game, but two completely different genders. I just think it's beautiful that the women get to play the game they want to play and still celebrate their femininity by wearing bows and looking beautiful on the pitch, but still playing that fearsome, ferocious game of rugby that we love and enjoy. And so to hold a light against them and try to compare against the men, because the men aren't flashy like that just by standard. It's part of the way the culture of male rugby is. I think it's unfortunate that she got bad press for that from like the fans, but I really love how I believe pretty much all of the teams and all the women supported her within the world of rugby, and they were all wearing bows for their matches. So I think that was absolutely beautiful display of sportsmanship, camaraderie, and that sisterhood in rugby. And I just think it has to be celebrated, that personality, that uniqueness of the women's side of the game, because although it's the game of rugby, the women play it completely different. And I think it's beautiful that they can show their personality and showcase their female aspect of the game, just a completely different look. So I thought that was absolutely beautiful. So I just wanted to give that a shout while it hit my mind. Looking at Pool C, New Zealand and Ireland advance. Japan and Spain bring up the bottom. And Pool D, France and South Africa advance. Italy and Brazil are the ones left out of the tournament. So as we move forward, we're going to go to the knockout rounds. So the first quarterfinal match, we have New Zealand versus South Africa. I predict that New Zealand's going to win this one, and they are going to win it big, because we saw what France was able to do against South Africa, and I think New Zealand is, probably a more powerful team in my estimation. I think they're more powerful than the French side. I know the French is dynamic, fluid, and everything that I mentioned, but I think New Zealand is better overall than France in this one. As far as just my perspective, I want to hear your thoughts on that one. But I think New Zealand wins big, and congratulations for South Africa for making it for their first quarterfinals for the women. But this is where the road ends for them. The next one we have is Canada versus Australia. I have Canada beating Australia because I think that Canada has the more consistent side of rugby. They have a more well-rounded side, and I know Australia has some high flyers. The woman Miller that I mentioned, and they have a young teenager as well. I think she's 18 or 19 years old, and I believe she is is she a flanker or a number 8? You have to correct me as I'm learning all their names, but two great players on the Australian side. I think Canada's a much more well-rounded team, and I think they're going to advance. So I have New Zealand beating South Africa, Canada beating Australia. For France versus Ireland, I have the French women moving on. Les Bleus beats Ireland. For all the reasons that I mentioned earlier, I just think France is a dominant side. And then England versus Scotland, I think England wins big on this one as well. And it's going to be France versus England in the semifinal, and New Zealand versus Canada in the semifinal on the semifinal one. And we'll do our predictions next week going into the final and the bronze matches. But that's what I have right there. And to close it out, we'll go through our predictions. So let's go to the, let me find it. All right, so we're looking at the prediction in the quarterfinal rounds. Let's go to last week. So for Canada, Scotland, got that one correct. For the score difference between Samoa and US, I got that incorrect. I said it was going to be 6-14. It was 28 plus. Fiji and Wales, got that correct with Fiji winning. Wales, Fiji, the most points scored. I got that incorrect. I said second half, and it was the first half. England, Australia winning. I predicted England, which was correct. Australia, England, who would make the most tackles? England, and that was the correct prediction on that. So did pretty good as far as 4 out of 6 correct. And then for the match day 6, I got all of them correct except the last one. Spain, Japan, got those 2 correct on those. Brazil, Italy, Italy wins. The first try we scored in the 0-20. Brazil, Italy. Ireland, New Zealand, had Ireland with the most possessions. Got that correct. And the one I missed was the conversions by France. I said 76-100. They have 51%, or between 51 and 75%. So I got that incorrect. So moving on to the quarterfinal rounds, New Zealand versus South Africa. I have New Zealand winning. Just a better team, more polished all the way around, kicking, attacking, defensively. Faster, great breakdown, speed to ball, all of that, set piece, and just a better team overall, way faster than the South African women, and just more field time and experience. Definitely win that one. Who will win Australia, Canada? I have Canada winning this one. What will be the winning margin for Australia and Canada? Ooh, that's going to be a tough one. I say 8-14. I think it's going to be a close match. I don't think it's going to be a blowaway, but I do think Canada wins within the 8-14 margin on this one. Who will win between Ireland and France? I have France winning this one. The winning margin, I have France winning by 29 plus. They're going to blow them out, is what I feel. And who will win between England and Scotland? I have England beating Scotland, and I will lock in my picks there. And I would love to know your thoughts on your predictions, Qrew. So that's what I have, team. Those are my predictions for this week. Looking at the knockout rounds, New Zealand beats South Africa, Canada beats Australia, France beats Ireland, and England beats Scotland. I would love to know your thoughts on this quarterfinal. Who do you have winning? And what are you thinking about the tournament so far? I'm absolutely loving it. I just think the crowd and the support has been absolutely exceptional, and the women's rugby game has reached new levels. With this World Cup as far as viewership, entertainment quality, and the quality of play. I think it's been a beautiful showcase of rugby from the women's side, so they should be proud of themselves. And I'm really enjoying watching all of these matches unfold. But I would love to hear your thoughts, Qrew. And if you like this video, drop a like. Hit the subscribe, it helps a lot. And if you haven't already, descriptions below, drop into the QSN Rugby Collective on skool.com/rugby, where we connect and have fun. And we can do some live streams in there now too. They just released that feature. So I'm going to try that out. And let me know what other videos you would like to see on this channel, Qrew, as we continue to grow and improve and just make better content and have more fun together, Qrew. But I love you. I appreciate you. Always stay laser focused on your dreams and your vision. Remember, you're in control. Love you. Peace.